Hi, in this video, I'd like to shed some light on OpenTelemetry's vision of making observability ubiquitous. So what does ubiquitous observability actually mean? To understand ubiquitous observability, we need to understand the anatomy of modern applications. Modern applications heavily rely on third-party frameworks and libraries. Let's say you want to build a web service. In Java, you would usually use something like Spring Boot to easily define and set up your HTTP endpoints. Often you will end up using database clients like the Elasticsearch client or MongoDB client to persist your data, or a messaging client, let's say Kafka client to send messages. Considering such an application from the observability perspective, capturing observability data for the usage and behavior of these libraries is core to understanding the end-to-end behavior of your application. So you would like to see traces with spans covering the performance behavior of your libraries, providing insights into incoming HTTP requests, database calls, etc. You most likely would also like to see logs or metrics for these parts of your application. So you might be wondering, how would you get that kind of data? You have basically two options. The first option is to do manual instrumentation of your application. Therefore, you would use the OpenTelemetry API, like shown here in this code snippet, to wrap your code that uses the libraries with instrumentation code. This is sort of a tedious process, and no one would actually like to do this kind of wrapping instrumentation for all of their dependencies and code places that are using the libraries. That's why you would usually use the second option. And the second option is OpenTelemetry's auto-instrumentation. This auto-instrumentation exists for most of the languages in OpenTelemetry. And auto-instrumentation, sometimes also called agents, do the instrumentation of popular libraries for you. And they provide exactly what you need, what we have seen before on the slides. In the sense that you won't need to wrap all of your code with instrumentation code manually. It provides all of this for free. That sounds great, right? In fact, it is, but there is an ownership and maintenance problem with auto instrumentations. Let me illustrate to you the problem. You, as an application owner, include dependencies to libraries that are owned and maintained by the third party. Let's call that third party the library team. In addition, for observability purposes, you include an OpenTelemetry instrumentation agent. The OpenTelemetry agent is owned and maintained by the OpenTelemetry language team. The OTel language team also builds a set of auto-instrumentation modules. These instrumentation modules instrument the popular libraries from externally, including also the library you use in your application, for example. And this relationship is sort of problematic. Let's see why. First of all, the expertise is in the wrong place. Instrumenting a library often requires deep knowledge and sometimes also understanding of the internals of a library. Naturally, this expertise lives with the library team rather than with the OpenTelemetry team. Second, maintaining and keeping an instrumentation in sync with library evolution becomes a challenge, especially when those are different code bases and in particular when their ownership is separate. The problem of maintenance is additionally amplified by the scale of an ecosystem. Some ecosystems, like in Java, are really huge. There are hundreds or thousands of libraries. Maintaining and keeping instrumentations for all of them up to date becomes impractical for a single central OpenTelemetry team. And finally, sometimes it's really difficult to instrument libraries or frameworks externally. This is especially true for complex async frameworks that require proper context propagation. Now, all of this leads us to the vision of ubiquitous observability. And the key to achieve ubiquitous observability is to have the library instrumentations being baked in to the libraries themselves. What does that exactly mean? With Ubiquitous Observability, libraries come with built-in instrumentation that is maintained by the library team. The instrumentation uses a lightweight API from OpenTelemetry to define what, where, and also how to capture data. Your application would still use the OpenTelemetry agent. That agent comes with the implementation for the API that the baked-in instrumentation uses. And the agent also makes the baked-in instrumentation functional at the runtime of your application. With this model, library instrumentations are always in sync and up to date with the library evolution. And at the same time, the OpenTelemetry team can focus on higher value and generic features of the OpenTelemetry agents rather than trying to keep hundreds of instrumentations up to date. Overall, this enables higher quality of observability data. I hope this helped to understand what ubiquitous observability is and why we need it. If you're working on a library, make sure to consider baking in OpenTelemetry instrumentation natively. If you're a user of a library, ask your library vendors to build in OpenTelemetry. Several framework and library vendors already started helping the community to make ubiquitous observability a reality by baking in OpenTelemetry instrumentations natively into their offerings. You can find a list of examples under opentelemetry.io/ecosystem/integrations. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you are as excited as I am about the future with ubiquitous observability.